Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on Mother's Today. We are celebrating all the moms and mother figures in our lives and taking a look at how this vital role continues to evolve. From the daily labors of love to amazing achievements in the world, more and more women are redefining motherhood on their own terms. Some myths about motherhood can be challenging, like the more you work at it, the better a mom you are. Pediatrician Dr. Whitney Caceres grappled with her own urge to be a supermom and saw so many other mothers under similar self-imposed pressures. She wanted to help, so she wrote a book called Doing It All.
What do I care about the most? What do I value? What do I prioritize? And then how do I put more time, energy, and attention to those things? And then get the rest of the stuff done, or say it doesn't matter at all, or give it to somebody else.
Nowhere is motherhood celebrated with more exuberance than on social media. Some of it is celebrity moms showing off their luxury lifestyles beyond the reach of most. But there are a lot of regular moms too, a diverse group highlighting their journey with humor. Motherhood influencer and entrepreneur Sky Landish says it makes moms feel connected.
I think the coolest thing is the transparency. Honestly, I feel like I didn't know anything about motherhood before I started. So seeing everybody like post and share their journey and how different they are, I'm like, everybody should have somebody to relate to on Instagram. And you can pick and choose who to relate to.
Young Urban Moms founder and mother of two, Mary Almonte, says motherhood isn't for every woman and that women should be respected for the choices they make. While everyone loves adorable babies, Almonte says she finds great joy in seeing her kids growing into young adulthood.
Watching my kids navigate through life now as their own individual selves. Like I watch them solve problems with the tools that they may not admit, but I've given them.
Let's take this to our panel and see what they have to say.
We have a great panel to break this all down and have an amazing discussion. Dr. Whitney Caceres, she's a pediatrician, an MD, and author of the book, Doing It All, Stop Overfunctioning and Become the Mom and Person You're Meant to Be. Dr. Whitney, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Also with us is Sky Landish. She's been with us before on Street Soldiers, even going back to Circle of Sisters. Sky is a motherhood influencer. She's a mother of two and an entrepreneur. Sky, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Also with us is Mary Almonte. She's the founder of Young Urban Moms, the group and the podcast, and she's also a mother of two and a businesswoman herself. Mary, thank you so much for being with us.
It's great to be here.
We really appreciate it. Mary, I'm going to start with you on this. In terms of mothers today, what do you think some of the biggest challenges are that are facing moms?
I feel like it varies based on the age of your children. My kids are now older. I have a young adult, a 22-year-old and a 14-year-old. And those challenges are really unique in that we are dealing with social media, right? And so there's a lot of pressure that comes along with looking at everybody's highlight reel. As I always say, social media is, for both girls and boys. Also pressure to fit in. There's a lot of bullying that comes along with, kind of people being hyper exposed to only the best parts of people's lives, right? And all of this, girls now wear designer clothes and have access to all of these very expensive beauty treatments that, like, I don't know, back in my day, wasn't even a thought. So I think this whole keeping up with the Joneses sort of mentality is really a challenge that I'm finding myself dealing with as a mother of kids who are teens and young adults now.
Sky Landish, congratulations. You just had your second child, a son, 5.5 months old. So congratulations to you and Drew.
Thank you.
And Drewski, what are some of the challenges facing you? Because you're working, you're doing your career, you have your daughter who's in her 3 years old, and doing all these business things too. What are you finding the biggest challenges now that you have two?
I think my challenge right now in motherhood is probably time management, because now my daughter's at an age where she's doing ballet, she's doing swimming, and my son is still a baby. So it's lugging them both to her, her activities, but also trying to regain my, self-worth and who I am and who I was before kids. So I'm still in the postpartum and stage of things and still in the thick of that. I think I'm just trying to get back to a baseline where I really appreciate who I am and understand who I am as a mom now of two, of multiples, because it's all new for me. I think the biggest challenge right now is allowing other people to take the reins and help me, and understanding that I have a village and utilize my village when I need to.
Dr. Whitney, when you hear Mary and Sky talking, what do you think when you hear this?
Yeah, absolutely. No one is immune to the challenges of motherhood. I may be an expert, but I'm also a mom myself. I am a mom to an 8.5-year-old and 11.5-year-old. Both are neurodivergent kids. One has autism, the other has ADHD. And so those bring their own unique challenges. I think one of the big things that we're all talking about is this idea of the attention economy. There's so many pulls on our attention as moms, but then also our kids. They have so many pulls on their attention because of social media. And so really in my mind, the trick is trying to figure out, how do I prioritize the things that I value the most every single day? And that's really hard because most of us, myself included, become kind of addicted to this kind of frenzied life that we've all built, to all the social media, to all these polls and these dings and these notifications that come in every single day. And then to your point also, Lisa, about how things have been different for us as moms now in this generation compared with moms before. I don't envy the moms of the 50s who were barefoot in the kitchen and that's all they were doing. I love that I get to have a career. And I also know that society still expects me to be able to be barefoot in the kitchen and sexy for my man and an amazing mom and an amazing career woman. Like, I'm supposed to be doing it all in the world's eyes. And that's really a lot of pressure.
Stay with us. We're back right after this.
But if you look at social media, it's so polarized. It's very, very hard for people these days to know exactly what to do.
Mary, what about in terms of authority? Because, there's some people that were like, if my mom said it, I was scared, or you knew you were going to get punished. But there's a lot of changing attitudes about, discipline. And how have you been handling that?
Well, it's very interesting because I think once kids get to middle school, then the whole kids realize there's a world outside of home, right? And outside of your parents' authority. And I mean, look, back in my day, I felt like I was very harshly disciplined. Looking back, I was not, and I used to always threaten to go run and tell. But now, it's a gift and a curse, I think, because some kids may actually need to have an outlet at school to go and, report abuse to, but then others kind of know that that's available to them and will kind of use that to their advantage when they're getting in trouble at home. So it does get rough. I think middle school is the time when it's like kids are kind of feeling themselves and starting to realize, oh, there's like this whole world out there. And it kind of carries on through high school. And it's very interesting because they're coming into their own, but you still have to listen to your parents. So it really is a struggle. You have to really do your homework as a parent, as your kids are growing up, and know where they're going and who the family is. And I don't think being a helicopter parent is a bad thing. I think it means you care and you're trying to protect your kids from exposure to a whole lot of bad things. So I mean, that's my personal opinion. I know that everything has a limit, but I don't think you can go wrong by trying to protect your kid as the objective.
Sky, now that you have two in terms of splitting your attention, you're still very active and you're on social media and you're doing your businesses and making those kind of moves. What about the split attention thing? How do you deal with that?
So right now, because we spend majority of our time still at home, I'm able to kind of go back and forth between the kids. When it comes to my career, I usually end up doing it in the nighttime, or me and my husband have a very organized calendar where if we have a meeting, I pivot and I get a grandmother to watch the kids, and we have an office, so we go to the office and we handle that. Thankfully, I have two very active grandparents in my life. So if I call them, one is retired, one is not, I can call them and use them when I need to. They're great. I think I wish everybody had that, and I'm very thankful for them. So right now it's kind of just having a very organized schedule, and also when it comes to attention individually between my kids, making sure I show him my son as much attention as I was able to show my daughter.
Dr. Whitney, what about the authority issue for parents? How do you see that?
Yeah. So I love that we are leaning into the idea of emotion coaching our kids and teaching them to name their feelings and being in touch with how they feel. And also, we have really done a disservice to parents by saying everything has to be completely gentle all the time and your kids can do what they want and never say no. I mean, our kids need boundaries, they need guidelines. But if you look at social media, it's so polarized. Like one account will say it should all be gentle and you're a terrible parent if you ever tell your kid no. One will say we're ruining our kids. And so it's very, very hard for people these days to know exactly what to do. I have lots of people that come into my office and say, tell me exactly how I'm supposed to discipline or correct or guide my kids because they don't have an innate sense of self about how to do it. So I think that's the core issue is that there's so much confusion and conflicting advice that's out there right now.
Sky, what about in terms of discipline, like Solar? Like Solar's got a tremendous personality. She's already, I mean, she's her own little social media star with her picking the music that she likes and the Solar says and all these types of things. And you know, by that age, like 3.5, they have that personality, they have the will. How do you make her feel like she's not in second place now with your son, with the little baby?
I think because he's not talking yet, or I include her in everything. That's number one. But when it comes to disciplining her and kind of making her aware of her actions, I think for me, what works the most is a reward system. At her age, she's really set on rewards. So if we're in school or she's doing classwork and she has homework, she does her homework and then she can get a little bit of TV. Or when she's being disciplined, I feel like me and my husband, we go back and forth and we play good cop, bad cop, depending on what her ask is. Clearly, I feel like girls gravitate towards their dad, so he's more lenient with her than I am. But she definitely knows that I say no to certain things, and she knows he'll say yes, and vice versa. So she'll use it to her advantage. So we kind of have to text each other on the side, like, "Hey, are you okay with this?" But it's a learning process.
No,
I love
absolutely.
the idea of rewards. I think that's such a great thing for kids, especially at young ages like that. And the thing that I always tell people is it's about separating out your emotions from your actions. All emotions are okay. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel and tell me how you feel, but you're not allowed to act not right. Like you cannot hurt other people. Certain behaviors are not okay.
One of the things that we've seen too, of course, we're talking about social media, which is a part of our lives, but there's been this whole thing about moms. A lot of images, there's the mom that had the baby 3 weeks ago, and now she's like, oh, I have this six pack. The opposite is that, oh, look, she's really letting herself go. And it just seems to be a lot of criticism around that. Mary, tell us what's your thoughts on that?
So I feel like just like I teach my kids, I think it's important for us as mothers to also remember that everyone's journey is different and
Right.
everyone's journey is their own, right? So some people snap back after having kids, some people have to work at it, some people care, some people don't, right? Like, I mean, again, I think it differs greatly from where you are in, terms of motherhood, right? Like now that my kids are older, I actually have time to work out now. Do I enjoy it? No, but I make the time and I do it.
Right.
And I think that when you see those results, that kind of motivates you to like keep going and go harder. And it really is investing in yourself and giving back to yourself, right? Like if you can find 30 minutes to like do something for your kids, which we will move heaven and earth to do, you can find 30 minutes to like walk on the Stairmaster. So I think that's, I know Sky had mentioned, time management at one point, and I think that's a really important thing. It's like self-love to like make that time for yourself. However, you cannot be comparing yourself to other people because not everyone's life is set up the same. And I think that's what I kind of see most moms doing. And that leads to other things, right? Depression and, feeling of like low self-worth and worthlessness because you're seeing somebody once again on their social media highlight reel looking snatched after giving birth last week. And that may not have been your experience.
Sky, what about the appearance pressure? Because you're a model, you're a TV personality, always in front of the cameras. What's been your experience with that?
I think before kids, I was a fitness enthusiast and I own a fitness business, so fitness is a very heavy part of my life. And then once I got pregnant and I became a mother, my first phase postpartum journey with my daughter was really hard because I wasn't understanding that we needed to give ourselves grace with that. I thought I would snap back and I didn't. It took me a year just to get back to baseline, you know? And that wasn't my weight that I was going for. I wanted to be skinnier or more in shape. And then I think I came to a point where I was okay with not getting back there. I was a mom now. I was a different person. I needed to understand who I am as this person, not the person I was before kids.
Dr. Whitney, what's your take on this whole appearance, the appearance pressure?
Yeah, I actually do a lot of work with kids on body confidence, and a lot of that comes from how we are as moms as well. And we have the cards stacked against us. We don't have a lot of the hormonal help that we need, especially after we have our babies. We're all sleep deprived. We know that increases cortisol, which makes it so we're going to want more sugary and salty foods. We don't have the time to be moving our bodies. So, of course, your body's going to look different after you have a baby. And it's actually supposed to, right? Even though we have a lot of pressure to make it look exactly how it looked before we had our kids. I always talk with women about this idea of exactly what you guys are saying. Accepting the body that you're in now, which is going to have some stretch marks. It's going to have a little fupa, maybe, but then also taking care of the one body that you have. So that's where I try to encourage people to go. You know, you're going to feel more energy if you move your body. You're going to have more presence with your kids if you're not constantly drinking coffee all day long, but instead you're giving yourself lots of good hydration, you know? So think about those two things, and that's going to set you up for more success than what do I look like today?
Dr. Whitney, what about your a piece of advice that maybe you got, even though you give a lot of advice, but was there something that you got that you want to share?
The best piece of advice was when I had my first daughter in the hospital. There was a nurse who had known me for a long time, seen me take care of a lot of babies, and said, I know that you know what to do, but when you don't know what to do, make sure you ask for help. Because there's going to come a moment where you don't know what to do. You're completely stuck and don't feel like you can't ask for the help that you need. And that stuck with me because it's true. I mean, I'm supposed to be the expert. I'm supposed to be the person that knows exactly what's going on. But there's been a million moments in motherhood where I had no idea what I was doing and I needed outside help.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Sky, what's been some of your greatest joys being a mom?
I think my greatest joy right now is almost, you would say, reliving life from the start of it, right? As a person that's living with them, but watching them live. I don't remember 3 years old. I don't remember 4 years old. So watching somebody that's 4 years old every day, living their life with them and like seeing those aha moments or when my daughter learns a new word and she's like using it correctly. It's like, it's almost like I'm reliving my life again from the start. And I absolutely love it. That's like really one of my joys of motherhood is being able to do it all over again from scratch.
What about advice that you got or that you'd like to pass on, especially going from one kid to two?
I think one of the biggest things is living in the now. So like everybody tells me, you know, it goes so fast. And I think sometimes I just stop and I'm like, she wants to play with slime. I don't want her to play with slime in the house, but play with slime because I want to be living in the now. I don't want to make all these rules to you know, to where we're not right now and you're enjoying yourself. So I really think it's just important to live in the moment with motherhood sometimes and not be so focused on our rules and regulations.
Mary, final word. What about the advice you got or advice you'd like to share?
So my advice is kind of twofold, and it might be contradictory, but first is don't feel guilty about taking care of yourself, right? Like there's always that like saying about when you're on the plane and if anything happens, you put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Because you can't take care of anybody else if you don't have oxygen. So I think that you kind of have to remember that. I know throughout my motherhood journey, I would always feel like crap if like I couldn't get to everything and, you know, always put myself last. And I think it really is important that you don't feel guilty when you do something that makes you happy. And the other bit of advice that I wish I would have known is find your tribe, right? Like, I do feel like, yes, we all need help sometimes. And there's so much judgment and unsolicited advice that comes at us as mothers. And I think if you surround yourself with people who you know have your best interests at heart and are like-minded in values, then I think, you can't go wrong. And those will be people that will lift you up on the journey and help you figure it out.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on Mother's Today. You can watch it again on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page and the Fox Local app. Remember, use your mind as your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.